So Russ comes in with the first question of the night. He says, I get in the pool, and after a couple of laps, I get bored. The mind wanders, and I get negative thoughts. How do I stay focused and positive? I try the short sayings, but they ain't working. They aren't working. I'm going to go with this one first before I hand it to you. Russ, swimming sucks. That's why you're getting bored. Tommy, what do you got?
Well, I would disagree. I mean, swimming is swimming is definitely it's a very technical sport though. So I think there's a lot in that. And it's the process. I would say that, you want to think your way through and put your focus and your intention on what's going to be making you successful. Because if, you're holding, 130 pace, the more you start to distract yourself, i.e. the mind wandering away from like hand entry, high elbow, pull, all that breath, etc. You're pulling yourself away from that. And then, with that and those negative thoughts, you're losing that technical focus, and you're obviously subsequently slowing yourself down. So dialing back into the technique, like what is my, cues that I'm going to come through? What are the things I'm going to say to myself to keep me focused on everything I need to do to be continually in that process? And so, I mean, that's a very simplistic answer. Unfortunately, I can't, that's the one thing, a lot of the mental stuff, I can speak in broader strokes, but it is, it's harder to give a more generalized answer, if that kind of makes sense at times.
Yeah, and I want to. That's a great answer, and some things I hadn't thought about, and I want to take that a step further too. Though I think that when you're swimming, you have much more sensory deprivation. All you can hear is your thoughts. I mean, you can hear your arm entering the water as it's splashing. You can see somebody swim past you. You get that. But for the most part, it is you with you. And I think that to me, from my own personal athletic perspective, that's a great time for me to then go, okay, how do I go in my normal life and silence my brain? And this is me as an example 100%, because my brain is nonstop just pinging on freaking everything. And so Russ, I struggle when I get in the water. It's not necessarily negative thoughts. It's thinking of everything except for swimming. And that sucks, because that's not a good quality session. And so for me, I really have to kind of maybe take an extra second at the wall and make myself be present. Go, you know what? And I'm not going to be present for 1,000. Everybody that knows me knows I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, I'm going to chill out for 1,000. I'm like, listen, focus in for the next 50. When you get to the end of the next 50, figure out what the hell you got to do then. But for me, it's because I function very well with a lot of noise, a lot of distraction. The best work I can do is I go to Starbucks, I put my headphones in with some god-awful music, and I can hammer out work with people walking around. I need all that to make me focus. And so the swimming, for me, Russ, the swimming is equally hard. And it's because I don't make it a point to be mindful and be present in that moment. Does that make sense, Tommy?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And that's a great point to make. And that's, setting an intention, right? And being purposeful in that. I'm going to swim this 100 and I'm going to focus on these. And then like when you get to the wall, if you're at a master's group, obviously you're on a rest interval, you got to be popping it quick, and things of that nature. But if you're just doing your own set, then you can kind of take a break, refresh, and just attempt to challenge yourself to stay in that moment. Another great thing is a mindfulness practice, breathing practice, focusing on, working to limit our ability to get pulled, as you're saying, Jeremy, and like those thoughts, right? Because that's such a common thing. And the more we can train that in other areas, the more readily it's going to be at our fingertips when we want it, i.e. in that pool at that moment, in that training, when it's like, okay, I recognize now I'm focusing here on all the stuff I don't want to do, but then you can bring yourself back in and reset an intention, focus on the process, and continue forward in that path.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful advice.